Before the colony, before the map was drawn by someone else's hand, there was a kingdom that built its own script, minted its own coins, converted to Christianity before most of Europe had heard the word. A kingdom that claimed to hold the most sacred object in the ancient world, and then closed the door, stationed one man in front of it, and told the world, "You may not enter." That claim has never been verified. It has never been withdrawn. For over 1,000 years, an entire civilization has organized its faith, its identity, and its sense of continuity around something no outsider has been permitted to see. The question is not simply whether the Ark is there. The question is what it means that they keep it that way. This is where it begins. Stand on the Ethiopian highlands and understand the geography first. The terrain is not flat. It is not open. It is a series of elevated plateaus, deep gorges, and mountain ridges. The Blue Nile cuts through it. The Great Rift Valley fractures it. For the people living here 2,000 years ago, this geography was both protection and problem. The problem was access. Moving goods across the highland terrain was slow. Carrying grain or livestock from one valley to the next required effort that reduced whatever profit the journey was supposed to generate. But the highlands ended. To the east, they dropped sharply toward the Danakil Depression and the Red Sea coast. And the Red Sea was not an obstacle, it was a road. The first practical decision made by the people of this region was not political, it was directional. They moved toward the coast. They found the port at Adulis. They built boats. That decision, repeated and refined over generations, produced something specific. A trading network connecting the African interior to Arabia, to India, to the Roman Empire, and eventually to Persia and China. The port at Adulis became one of the most active commercial nodes in the ancient world. Ivory moved through it, gold dust, live animals, frankincense, obsidian, tortoiseshell. Goods arrived in return: silk, spices, iron, wine, olive oil. The traders did not stay along the coast. They built their capital inland, elevated, defended by the terrain itself. They called the city Aksum. A city built on trade traffic does not stay small. It accumulates surpluses. Surpluses fund administration. Administration requires record keeping. Record keeping requires a writing system. The people of Aksum developed Gez. Gez is not a borrowed system. It is an original script derived from ancient South Semitic roots, adapted and structured into a syllabic alphabet. Each character in Gez represents a consonant combined with a vowel. The system is precise, learnable, and complete. It is still in use today. Every liturgical text of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church is written in it. Every government document of the old empire passed through its characters. A civilization that builds its own writing system is not simply documenting transactions. It is constructing memory. It is deciding what matters enough to be kept. Aksum kept quite a lot. By the 1st century of the Common Era, Aksum was receiving mention in Roman and Greek geographic texts. The Periplus of the Erythraean Sea, a Roman merchant's guide, described Adulis in detail. It noted the king of Aksum as a ruler of considerable power. It recommended the port as a reliable stop on the eastern trade route. That kind of mention carries specific weight. Romans were practical people. They wrote about places that were useful. By the 3rd century, a Persian scholar named Mani listed Aksum among the 4 great kingdoms of the world. Rome, Persia, China, and Aksum. 4 great kingdoms. One of them was in East Africa. That is not a footnote. The kings of Aksum built in stone, not as decoration, as statement. The Stelae of Aksum are monolithic granite towers carved from single pieces of rock hauled from quarries miles away and stood upright without machinery that modern engineers can fully reconstruct. The tallest standing stele reaches over 20 meters. The largest one ever attempted fell during construction. It lies broken in the field today. Each stele was carved to look like a multi-story building, with false windows and door frames etched into the granite face. These were grave markers. They stood above the tombs of Aksumite royalty. They were not just memorials, they were assertions. They said, "This kingdom does not build in mud brick. This kingdom does not erect wood posts. This kingdom cuts stone, and the stone endures." Then, around 330 CE, a structural shift shifted. A young king named Ezana came to the throne. He had been raised in the royal court, educated by a Syrian Christian Shalid named Frumentius, who had arrived in Aksum years earlier under complex circumstances. Frumentius taught the young prince, and the young prince listened. When Ezana became king, he converted Aksum to Christianity. He did not do it quietly. He issued inscriptions in 3 languages, Gez, Saban, and Greek, announcing the change. He removed the symbols of the old gods from royal coins and replaced them with the cross. He sent Frumentius to Alexandria to be confirmed as the first bishop of Aksum. The act was political as much as spiritual. Christianity was the faith of the Roman Empire. Aligning with Rome's religion signaled alignment with Rome's economic networks, but it was also genuinely theological. Ezana did not simply adopt a new symbol. He reorganized the administrative logic of the state around the new faith. Churches were built, clergy were established, a hierarchy was put in place. Aksum became one of the earliest nations in the world to officially adopt Christianity as a state religion. That distinction matters. It places this kingdom's theological transition at roughly the same moment as Constantine's Rome. Two centers of Christian empire, one remembered in every history textbook, one largely absent from them.
Now we come to the claim that defines everything else. According to Ethiopian tradition recorded in the Kebra Nagast, which translates as the glory of kings, the Ark of the Covenant is in Axum. The story runs like this. The Queen of Sheba, known in Ethiopian tradition as Makeda, traveled to Jerusalem to meet King Solomon. The accounts of that visit exist in both the Hebrew Bible and the Quran. In the Ethiopian version, they had a son. His name was Menelik. When Menelik grew to adulthood, he traveled to Jerusalem to meet his father. Solomon welcomed him. When Menelik returned to Ethiopia, he carried something with him, the Ark of the Covenant. Whether he was given it or took it, or whether a divine hand arranged the transfer, the Kebra Nagast does not treat as ambiguous. The Ark came to Ethiopia, and it remained there. This text was compiled in its current form in the 14th century, but Ethiopian scholars argue it draws from much older oral and written sources. The Kebra Nagast is not a casual document. It is the ideological foundation of Ethiopian royal legitimacy. Every emperor of the Solomonic dynasty from Menelik I forward derived his authority from that bloodline. The line ran from Solomon to Makeda to Menelik. Down through centuries to Haile Selassie, who died in 1975 as the last emperor. The claim was not peripheral, it was the core of how the state understood itself. And at the center of that claim, guarded in a small chapel beside the Church of Our Lady Mary of Zion, is the Ark itself. Or so the tradition holds. One monk is appointed to guard it. That appointment is for life. He does not leave the chapel grounds. He receives food brought to him. He performs the rituals required. No outsider is permitted to see what he guards. No journalist, no archaeologist, no foreign dignitary. Not even the patriarch of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church may enter. Only the guardian sees it, and when the guardian dies, a successor is chosen, and that succession continues. There is no verification, there is no photograph, there is no scientific analysis. There is only the closed door and the monk on the other side of it. That arrangement has held, in one form or another, for centuries. In a small stone courtyard in Axum, before the sun rises over the escarpment, a monk, is already awake. He has been awake before the dawn since he was chosen. He will be awake before the dawn until he is no longer capable. He does not know who made the object he guards. He does not question whether the lineage of its arrival in this city is precisely as the texts describe. He knows one thing: something of immense weight has been placed in his care. He treats it accordingly. He prays in Gez, the same language that Aksumite scribes used to record trade transactions 15 centuries ago. He observes fasts the same calendar marks as the original Aksumite church. He maintains rituals whose origins are older than most European nation-states. He is not performing a role for visitors. There are no visitors. He is simply the continuation of a chain. A chain of men who chose or were chosen to stand between the world and something the world is not permitted to touch. That is not primitive. It is not superstition. It is an extremely deliberate institutional design, and it has worked. Axum did not fall in a single campaign. It withdrew. The trade routes shifted first. When the Arab conquest of the 7th century reshaped the political landscape of the Middle East and North Africa, the Red Sea trading networks reorganized around new power centers. Adulis, the great port that had fed Aksum's commerce for centuries, declined in importance. The merchants rerouted. The revenues contracted. Aksum's ability to project power beyond its immediate region depended on those revenues. When the revenue shrank, the projection contracted with them. There was also environmental pressure. Agricultural overuse in the Highlands depleted soils. The forests around the capital thinned from centuries of timber demand. The water management systems that supported a dense urban population required maintenance that a weakening administration could not sustain. By the 8th century, the center of Ethiopian political power had shifted south. The Stelae stayed, the churches stayed, the tradition of the Ark stayed, but Axum as an active capital was finished. What followed was not erasure, it was transformation. Ethiopian kingdoms continued. The Zagwe dynasty ruled from the 12th to the 13th century. They built rock-hewn churches in Lalibela, carved downward into solid volcanic rock. 11 churches, each a single excavated structure, connected by tunnels. When the Solomonic dynasty was restored in 1270, it carried the Kebra Nagast with it as a political document of legitimacy. The empire continued to expand and contract over the following centuries. It encountered the Portuguese in the 16th century. It resisted Ottoman incursions. It absorbed and expelled Jesuit missionaries who tried to convert the church to Catholicism. Each encounter left marks. None of them fundamentally altered what Ethiopia understood itself to be. That core, was the bloodline, the covenant, the ark. In late 19th century, Europe was dividing Africa. At the Berlin Conference of 1884, European powers agreed on the terms for partitioning the continent. No African leader was present at that meeting. By 1900, nearly the entire continent was under European colonial control, all of it except one country. Italy had been assigned Ethiopia as its sphere of influence. Italy invaded. On March 1, 1896, at the Battle of Adwa, Emperor Menelik II assembled an Ethiopian army estimated at over 100,000 soldiers. They were not a ragged force. They were armed with modern rifles, partly acquired through diplomatic channels. They were fed and supplied through a logistical effort that historians have since described as remarkable in scale and coordination. The Italian force was routed. It was not a close engagement. It was not a tactical surprise that succeeded on luck. It was a military defeat administered by an organized African state to a European army that had assumed the campaign would be simple.
The consequences were felt far beyond the battlefield. Italy was forced to sign a treaty recognizing Ethiopian sovereignty. Every other European colonial power noticed. Discussions about the partitioning of Africa now had to include the acknowledgement that at least one African kingdom was not available. More than that, the news traveled. In the Caribbean, in the United States, in Brazil, wherever African descendants lived under systems designed to deny their capacity for self-determination, the Battle of Adwa meant something. It was evidence. Not of exceptional geography or particular luck, but of governance, strategy, and organized resistance. Pan-African thinkers in the early 20th century cited Adwa explicitly. It became one of the foundations on which the intellectual argument for African independence was built. A battle in the highlands of northern Ethiopia sent a signal that political movements across 3 continents received. Haile Selassie came to power in 1930. He was the 225th emperor of the Solomonic Dynasty, according to the official count. His given name was Tafari Makonnen. He was, by the standards of his era, a modernizer. He introduced a constitution in 1931. He established a national university. He worked to abolish slavery within Ethiopia. He represented his country at the League of Nations. When Italy invaded again in 1935 and occupied Ethiopia for 5 years, Selassie went into exile and addressed the international community in a speech that remains a document of its era. He returned in 1941 when Allied forces helped expel the Italians. He rebuilt. He extended the empire's administrative reach. He positioned Ethiopia as a founding voice in what would become the African Union. He was also an autocrat. Power remained concentrated around the palace. Land reform did not come. Famine in the north in 1973 was suppressed from public view.
The contradiction between the idea of the Solomonic lineage and the reality of a population living without access to land or basic services became increasingly difficult to hold together. On September 12, 1974, a military committee called the Derg placed Haile Selassie under arrest. He was driven away from the palace in a blue Volkswagen. The symbolism was pointed. The last descendant of Solomon, the inheritor of the lineage traced to the Ark itself, was removed in a modest car. He died in custody the following year. The Derg installed a Marxist-Leninist government. The monarchy was abolished. The church was politically marginalized. The Kebra Nagast was not burned, but the state that had given it its institutional meaning had been dismantled. The monk in Aksum continued to guard what he guarded. The rituals continued. The Ge'ez liturgy continued. Some things are harder to dismantle than governments.
The inheritance of Aksum does not move in a single line. It branches. The first branch is theological. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church is one of the oldest continuously functioning Christian institutions in the world. It predates the Western Schism. It predates the Reformation. It predates most of the theological disputes that shaped European Christianity. Its canon of Scripture is larger than that of any other Christian tradition. The Ethiopian Bible contains books that Western churches do not include: the Book of Enoch, the Book of Jubilees, texts that were lost to other traditions but preserved here in Gez in mountain monasteries by monks who copied them by hand across generations. When European scholars in the 18th and 19th centuries went looking for those lost texts, they went to Ethiopia. They found them intact. The second branch is political. Adwa did not just defend a border, it created a symbol. Haile Selassie's address to the League of Nations in 1936 was heard in places far beyond Geneva. When Jamaican religious thinkers developed the Rastafari movement in the 1930s, they built it around the image of Ethiopia as Zion, as the promised land of African dignity. Selassie himself became a figure of theological significance to millions of people who had never met him and who had only a partial understanding of the actual political conditions of his rule. That is not unusual. Symbols do not require the consent of the people they represent. The third branch is institutional. Addis Ababa became the headquarters of the Organization of African Unity in 1963, which later became the African Union. That decision was not arbitrary. Ethiopia was the one African country that had not been colonized in the conventional sense. Placing the continental institution there was a statement about where the idea of African sovereignty was considered most intact. The fourth branch is the Gez manuscript tradition. Thousands of texts survive in Ethiopian monasteries: historical records, philosophical works, medical texts, astronomical calculations. The full extent of that archive has not yet been cataloged. Much of it has not been translated. What Ethiopia has been keeping is not only what is inside the chapel in Aksum. It has been keeping an entire body of human knowledge that the rest of the world lost track of. Here is the question the monk's existence raises.
It is not whether the object he guards is what the tradition says it is. That question may never be resolved, and the Ethiopians, broadly speaking, are not troubled by that. The question is what it means to organize a civilization around an uncheckable claim. Every state does this. The United States grounds its legitimacy in a set of principles written by men who did not live by them. France grounds its republic in a revolution that produced both liberation and terror. The Church of Rome grounds its authority in an unbroken line of succession that historians debate at every point. Ethiopia grounds its identity in a lineage that runs from Solomon to the last emperor, and at the center of that lineage, the physical object that made it sacred. That object may be there, it may not be, but the civilization it produced was real. The script is real, the churches are real, the manuscripts are real, the battle at Adwa was real, the bloodline that inspired a global movement of displaced people seeking dignity was real. Something inside that chapel, visible or not, functional or not, generated all of that. Call it faith, call it institutional design, call it the political utility of the sacred. It held. For 1,000 years, empires rose and collapsed around this region. The Assyrians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Ottoman world, the European colonial order. Aksum outlasted the logic that created it. The church outlasted the empire that built it. The guardian continues long after the kings who installed his office are centuries gone. We inherited the alphabet from Phoenicia. We inherited the law from Rome. We inherited the democracy we claim from Athens. What Ethiopia kept, we have not yet fully decided what to do with, because it was not given to us, it was kept from us. And perhaps that is precisely the point. Some inheritances are not passed forward, they are held in place against the pressure of every century that asked to see them, and the holding itself becomes the meaning. If you want more stories like this, subscribe. The greatest things a civilization can preserve are not always the ones it puts on display.